classified into two. Ito yung tinatawag nating anaerobic and at the same time aerobic. Now, at the same time, pag sinabi nating anaerobic, no, this is important kasi nga pag anaerobic, minsan, it's difficult to identify in the laboratory. Nagkakataon na pag anaerobic naman, na kung saan, makikita natin dito na yung importante sa medical technologies, yung specimen collection, selection, transport, and processing. Most, pag halimbawa sabihin natin, mga anaerobic, ito yung mga samples natin na kung saan galing daw sa mga wound aspirates or aspirated sample. And procedures for identifying testing their susceptibility is very important. Why? Kasi nga pag halimbawa anaerobic ang pinag-uusapan natin, it's very important that we need to check, lalong-lalo na kapag ito ay may mga worst or case scenario na mga delikado. Kasi nga pag anaerobic, no, ibig sabihin nito, there is an impeded circulation or walang oxygen transport sa area na may infection. Another, these are actually the source of our bacterial infection na anaerobic. It can be, halimbawa, exogenous, particularly outside the body. Like halimbawa sabihin natin, yung agent na yan, nagkaroon ng entrance, no, particularly traumatic. Paano yon? Nasugatan ka, nakapa ka ng pako, tapos natusok ka, ano yung bacteria. That's an example of what you call a traumatic entrance. Or, endogenous naman, kapag halimbawa yung katawan, no, particularly ng mga animals become source of infection. Like Bacteroides, Streptococcus, or Actinomyces. And these are all example of anaerobic bacteria. Makikita natin dito yung mga different sites ng ating anaerobic bacteria. Like for example, we have the Propionibacterium acnes for skin, Prevotella, Porphyromonas, and Fusobacterium for respiratory. Ang Fusobacterium common yan, and even your Prevotella. Gastrointestinal, Bacteroides, Bifidobacterium, Clostridium, and Eubacterium. And of course, genitourinary tract, particularly Fuso and Prevotella. And some particular Bacteroides bacteria. Now, these are some anatomic sites na kung saan they invade, no? Yung isang patient kapag may mga tinatawag tayong mga anaerobic infection. Okay? So, tignan natin mabuti. Now, at the same time, halimbawa sabihin natin, no, wala na kasi akong boses, iniipon ko na to. May lecture pa ako mamayang 8 to 9. Naghahabol kasi ako sa Arellano. Final exam na namin next week. So, pag final exam na namin, definitely, tapusin ngayon, walang mga pasok ay nahabol ko. And of course, no, these are what you call the size of what we call ng tinatawag natin mga different anaerobic bacteria. Now, nakikita natin dito, no, paano ba nagkakaroon ng tinatawag natin anaerobic infection? Una, halimbawa sabihin natin, trauma. Like halimbawa, di ba? Sakto pag halimbawa, pumasa ka ng bacteriology, tapos New Year, magsa-celebrate ka. Happy New Year, biglang nagpaputok ka, di ba? Yun nga lang, naputukan ka. Yung naputukan ka, that's an example of traumatic entrance ng tinatawag nating bacteria. And that's an example for Clostridium. And at the same time, na one reason ko bakit may anaerobic, ito yung sinasabi ko, impede ang circulation of oxygen in the body. That is actually vascular stasis, or nagkaroon tinatawag nating gaze entry, and reduce environment that allows for a perfect growth site, lalo sa mga wound infection, or aspiration, or even oral surgery. That's why there's a possibility na nagkakaroon ng tinatawag nating anaerobic infection. Now, let's have this particular example of predisposing, nabanggit ko na, like yung entrance, like halimbawa, kinagat ka ng hayop, or traumatic entrance ng ating bacteria. Now, at the same time, aspiration of oral contents, or gastrointestinal tract surgery, or genital tract surgery are some condition na pwede magkaroon ng acquisition ng tinatawag nating anaerobic infection. Now, at the same time, ito yung mga indication ng ating tinatawag na involvement of anaerobic infection. Pwede halimbawa sabihin natin, there's a foul odor. Lalo sa mga sugat, no? O kaya proximity to mucosal surface or presence of gust. And kapag halimbawa, yung colony ng bacteria, in-expose natin ito, halimbawa sa ating UV light, nagkaroon ng brick red fluorescence, presence of black colony, or sulfur granules, or distinct morphology characteristics. Depende sa klase ng bacteria. Let's start with anaerobic. Pagdating sa spore former, meron tayong dalawang bacteria ang spore former. We have the term Clostridium, and at the same time, we have also our, what you call now, Bacillus. Anong pinagkaiba nilang dalawa? Ang pinagkaiba nilang dalawa is that your Clostridium is actually considered to be anaerobic, whereas ang ating Bacillus, anaerobic, whereas yung ating Bacillus are considered to be aerobic. Yan ang pinagkaiba nilang dalawa. But they are both spore-forming bacteria. Ibig sabihin nito, they produce spores. Now, tandaan nyo na itong mga bacteria na ito, kapag spore-forming sila, definitely, they actually produce a certain severe infection. Lalo na kay Clostridium and even Bacillus. Tingnan natin mabuti. Example, paki-memorize to. All Clostridium are motile except perfringens na mosum inoculum. All Clostridium are swollen except perfringens and bifermentans. Ibig sabihin ng swollen, malaki yung spores. All Clostridium are lactose negative except perfringens are lactose positive and septicum. All Clostridium are non-encapsulated except perfringens are encapsulated. Another, all Clostridium are single hemolytic. Ang ating Clostridium perfringens, one of their characteristics is that they have the double zone of hemolysis. Pag sinabi mong double zone of hemolysis, they have this particular alpha and beta hemolytic pattern. And at the same time, makikita mo dito, they are sucrose negative. Except, lahat ng ating Clostridium sucrose negative except Clostridium perfringens. Okay? Then, i-discuss ko mamaya yung characteristics niyan. All Clostridium are dextrose positive except Tetani histolyticum. The former does not ferment any sugar. Ito yon. Now, to classify our Clostridium, it can be classified in the following group. Una, pag sinabi mong histotoxic, they are involved in necrosis. One good example, Clostridium perfringens, the common name, the gas gangrene bacillus, o yung tinatawag nating myonecrosis. Now, on the other hand, may tinatawag tayong mga toxigenic group. Ang ibig sabihin ng toxigenic group, they produce toxin. So we have the botulinum, the most potent toxin, flaccid paralysis, tetany, tetanus plasmin, and tetanolysin. Botulinum and tetany are both neurotoxin. Ang botulinum, ito yung toxin na gusto mo magpaganda. Pag halimbawa, gusto mo mawala yung wrinkles, ito yon. Then we have difficile. This is what we call na tinatawag natin. Of course, no, it produces alpha and beta toxin that is actually involved in the enterocolitis or pseudomembranous colitis. I-discuss ko mamaya, nasa notes naman. And others are some variable, no? But the common itong apat. And of course, let's start with Clostridium perfringens. Ang Clostridium perfringens are called Bacillus Clostridium welchii. Nung estudyante ako, ang tawag ko dyan, welchii pa. But now, they are called Bacillus perfringens and commonly termed as gas gangrene bacillus. Now, this one can cause the following. Maliban sa enteritis and food poisoning, they can cause yung tinatawag nating delikado na gas gangrene. Pag sinabi natin gas gangrene, it infects the muscle tissue. We call the term myonecrosis. Parang ganito siya. So myonecrosis meaning to say, there is a severe infection in the muscle tissue na kung saan ang ginagawa niya is that there is what we call na yung tinatawag nating development of gas kapag nagkaroon ng necrosis. Kailangan mamatay yung mga cells sa gilid para mag-accumulate yung bacteria. The fact that the bacteria are anaerobic, then it will produce massive of gases. Nakakatakot ito kapag nangyari sa diabetic patient. This bacteria is called to be what we call now flesh-eating. Lalo na kapag halimbawa, nagkaroon ng gangrenous site in the area na may ganitong klaseng infection sa diabetic patient. Kaya minsan, ang nakikita kapag naglilinis ng sugat ay buto na lang sa mga diabetic patient. Okay? We call that myonecrosis or gas gangrene. That's why diabetic patients are actually prone if infection occurs into amputation. Now, if you will see, the characteristics of Clostridium perfringens have a Nagler reaction. What is Nagler reaction? Pag sinabi nating Nagler reaction in egg yolk agar or EYA, that is a selective media for what you call now isolation ng ating Clostridium perfringens, no? And that is enriched with egg yolk. Kaya nga, ito, ang ginagamit natin test dito, dalawa. We can perform 2 tests in identifying bacteria here. The lecithinase test and the lipase test. Lecithinase is an enzyme produced by our bacteria na kung saan pwede magkaroon ng tinatawag nating opaque, no? Sa ating egg yolk agar. At kapag nangyari yan, ang tawag dito, Nagler reaction. Another way to identify bacteria is the Gram stain. Your Clostridium perfringens are somewhat thin, rat, gram-positive bacilli, and in blood agar plate, makikita mo, double zone of hemolysis. The alpha ay nasa gilid, whereas the beta hemolytic pattern ay nasa loob ng ating bacteria, nasa pinaka-main bacterial colony, followed by alpha hemolytic pattern. Kaya tinawag siya double zone of hemolysis. So that is actually for our Clostridium perfringens. And take note, they are lactose fermenters. They are important for what you call now one way to identify our Clostridium perfringens. Next, after that, we have tetany. Tetany actually produces a potent neurotoxin called tetanolysin and tetanospasmin. From the term tetanolysin, destruction, spasmin, spasm, muscle spasm. Therefore, this bacteria, because of its swollen spores, it called to be the lollipop bacillus o yung tinatawag din nating the drumstick bacillus. That is the common name of this bacteria. Why? Kasi nakikita dito yung tinatawag nating subterminal or terminally. Ibig sabihin sa gilid, yung spores na swollen. Now, anong ginagawa ng bacteria na ito? Bakit delikado? Kasi it can cause the following incidents. We have the term Circus sardonicus or Rhesus sardonicus and Opisthotonos. Pag sinabi mong Rhesus sardonicus, lockjaw. Pag sinabi mong Opisthotonus, that is arcing of the back. Bakit nagkakaroon ng ganon? The main action of this particular neurotoxin, tetanolysin and tetanospasmin, blocks a neurotransmitter called gamma-aminobutyric acid and glycine. Your GABA or gamma-aminobutyric acid is actually once na na-impede or sabihin natin na block because of our tetanospasmin, nagkakaroon ng prevention of depolarization. Pag na-prevent ng depolarization, walang proper relaxation ang muscle control. Tuloy-tuloy yon, no? That's why in the postsynaptic membrane and conduction of electrical signal is continuous. And that's actually the reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng tinatawag nating excitatory, no? In our muscle, particularly, halimbawa, lockjaw, arcing of the back, that is Rhesus sardonicus or lockjaw, and arcing of the back, Opisthotonus. That is actually the main action ng ating tetanospasmin and tetanolysin. So this particular toxin, which is neurotoxin, ang ginagawa niya, it binds do sa receptor ng ating nerve endings. Therefore, ano nangyayari dito? It released the neuroinhibitors responsible for regulating muscle contractions. At yun yung ating gamma-aminobutyric acid and glycine. At ang delikado dito, it can lead to a rigid paralysis. But that depends on the infection. Why? It can be generalized. Pag generalized, medyo tolerable pa. Kasi pwedeng ito ay bulbar or paraspinal. At ang pwede dito, yung autonomic nervous system mo, affected, pag halimbawa, fluctuation ng BP, hyperthermia, pwede yon. Pero ang delikado sa bata, nangyayari ang tetanus neonatal kapag contaminated ng ating tetanus, no? Or Clostridium tetani, yung gamit, during halimbawa, nag-labor yung nanay. Mas delikado yon. So yung prognosis, ibig sabihin, yung paggaling, depende. Kasi pag bata, medyo mahirap. Pero pag matanda, okay lang. Pag sinabi mong localized cephalic, ito yung delikado. Kasi nervous system ang affected dito. Particularly in the 7th cranial nerves. And there is a poor prognosis. Pag sinabi mong poor prognosis, delikado. Mahirap gamutin. And ang localized, medyo okay pa. Halimbawa, sabihin natin, no, nasugatan ka, naglambingan ka ng boyfriend mo dun sa may talahiban, nakaapak ka ng anong bubo. Okay, nakaapak ka ng pako. Ay, be, mamaya na tayo mag-bem, gano'n. Ano yun, okay? So, halimbawa, sabihin natin, yan, ang ginagawa nila, linisin agad. Then after that, bigyan ka ng TT. Ano yun, sir? Tetanus toxoid. Di ba kapag halimbawa na naputukan, tetanus toxoid agad. Nakagat ng aso, tetanus toxoid and rabies. Kasi tama yung sinabi niya, pag nakagat ng aso, there's a possibility, kaya mahal pag nakagat ka ng aso. Yun nga, kaya pag halimbawa nakagat ka ng aso sa kapitbahay niyo, yun ang mahirap. Minsan hindi rin natin alam, kahit walang rabies yan, baka may tetanus. Because of the traumatic, sabihin natin, no, traumatic entrance of the bacteria, doon sa mismong halimbawa, canine ng animals. So, delikado pa din. Pero ang localized, no, linisin lang yan, walang problem. Tapos tetanus toxoid. Kaya favorable ang prognosis niyan. Then at the same time, makikita natin dito, ang control and treatment, kailangan debridement of the primary wound. Napaka-importante niyan. Then we can take antibiotics or tetanus toxoid. Yung sinabi ko sa inyo. Or DPT, nung bata. That is actually a vaccine for diphtheria, pertussis, and of course, tetanus. Diba? Tetanus toxoid. Tetanus. Ito yon. Tatlo kasi ang DPT. Diphtheria for Corynebacterium diphtheriae, pertussis for whooping cough, that is Bordetella pertussis, and T for Clostridium tetani, tetanus. Okay? Nakuha? Importante lang yung T, tetanus. Next, the most potent toxin. Ito ang nakakatakot. Huwag ka nang kumain ng delata kasama ng jowa mo kapag expired na. Bakit, sir? It can cause canned good poisoning. The causative agent for canned good poisoning is Clostridium botulinum. Pero alam niyo ba, yung mga mayayaman at sosyal, itong ginagamit nila, marami sila dyan sa mukha. Kasi, ginagamit nila yan para mag-contract yung muscle dito at hindi makita yung wrinkles. We call that Botox. At ito, yung attenuated bacteria, ang nilalagay nila doon. Sir, tinanong sa akin yan, delikado po ba? Hindi na. Kasi cultured yung ginagamit nila dyan. At expert yung naglalagay. Okay, dapat expert. Kapag nagpa-botox kayo, expert, nilalagay nila dito o kaya dito. Nakakita namin kasi yung friend ko, ini-inject lang siya. Kung hindi fillers, ito yon. Pero, pag-usapan natin yung sakit niya. Ang nakakatakot dito, alam niyo kung bakit siya yung pinaka-potent na toxin? Because this is the main action. It blocks the acetylcholine. Alam naman natin ang acetylcholine is actually a neurotransmitter that is important for muscle contraction. Kaya pag na-block ang acetylcholine, pababa yung impact. So from this nervous system, pababa, hanggang sa magkaroon ng tinatawag nating respiratory distress, na yun ang pwedeng ikamatay ng patient. From the neuromuscular junction, causing dysplasia, yan, then dysphagia, dito yon. Hindi ka na hindi mo na maigalaw yung jaw mo. Then, the worst scenario hindi ka na makahinga. And that is respiratory paralysis. And that is the term flaccid paralysis. Yan ang causative agent ng tinatawag natin flaccid paralysis. Nagkakaroon ng flaccid paralysis kapag that is the hallmark of botulism. Kaya nga nakakatakot ito. Okay? Because there is the impairment involving the muscles of the face, the head, then pababa, pharynx, and respiratory, going to the thorax, and now difficult of breathing. That is actually your Clostridium botulinum. Kapag mahilig ka kumain ng delata, ingat lang kayo. Kaya mas maganda painit. Kaso, no. Ang problem kasi kay Clostridium botulinum, they have spores. And they can able to withstand a very high temperature. Okay? Kaya ingat lang din tayo. Common name is actually, of course, no, Candid bacillus. Spores subterminally. Ang spores ng Clostridium tetani, terminal lang, gilid. Pag sabi mong subterminal, andito. Subterminal yan. Okay? Then, causative agent of botulism. And of course, we have this particular toxigenic type. Common sa humans ang A, D, E, and F. Next, they are commonly called Candid bacillus. And at the same time, these are the forms of botulism. The toxin called botulinum toxin is the most potent toxin among all bacteria. Yan ang pinakadelikado sa lahat. Because this toxin has a capability to block the acetylcholine, which is a potent neurotransmitter. Now, another toxin is the protoplasmic, na kung saan neurotoxin din siya, which can be synthesized during the growth of this bacteria. Makikita natin yung infection. Ang pinaka-common, food poisoning, or the classical foodborne. And we can acquire this one kapag halimbawa, nakakain tayo ng canned good or contaminated food. Wound botulism, rarest form. And infant botulism, in vivo production in colonized infant.
Pero ma'am,
Yes.
pagdating din sa mga canned food, most likely naman pag-expired lang siya, no?
Most likely.
Pero pag ano, yung okay pa.
Makikita mo naman, kapag halimbawa kumain ka ng delata at iba na yung amoy, so itapon mo na lang.
Marami kang sindilan.
Okay lang, yung mga pangmayaman ka sa delata, ibig sabihin mayaman kayo. Kailan mga galing sa ibang bansa. Di ba? At yung D'Souza yung mga delata nila siguro.
Naghihintay lang kami mga sa para makabili.
Sa ibang bansa yun na bibili. Dito lang sa may Landers,
Ay, tama.
ITAP.
Gusto namin.
Kasi takot na ako bumili sa mga gano'n sa ITAP, yung mga murang mga gano'n. Walang lasa.
Tapos ano pa, pag malapit na mag-expire.
Oo, pag sale naman na, malapit na mag-expire, iluto nyo na agad, kainin nyo na, para safe. Kasi actually, delikado ito. May mga na-isolate kami before na ganito, muntik na matay yung patient. May in-inject sa kanya yung doktor, hindi ko lang alam kung ano yun. Kasi, ang kalaban dito, yung pagbablock ng ating bacteria, ng neurotoxin sa acetylcholine. So, pwedeng ma-paralyze yung patient. Kaya tinawag siyang flaccid paralysis. Okay? But anyways, bibihira. Sa delata, actually, bibihira. Pero Candid bacillus, kapag expired na, para safe, huwag nyo na ipamigay sa kapitbahay. Be, sa inyo na to, yung pala expired. Pero bumalik bunganga mo. Alam mo na yun, huwag nyo na, kawawa naman. Baka mamaya iba na isipin pag nakita, expired na tuwa, di ba? So huwag na itapon nyo na lang. Huwag nyo na ibigay sa mga pulubi, kawawa yung mga pulubi. Bigyan nyo na kung ano yung ano. Huwag namang ipamigay. Ako may mga delata ko, tinapon ko. Binigay kasi ni Mayor Isko pa nun yan nung pandemic. Tinapon ko, sayang, hindi ko nagamit kasi umuwi ako ng Isabela. May mga corned beef, may mga sardinas, may bigas pa nga eh. Hindi ko nagamit yung bigas kasi nag-brown na siya. So sayang, sana pinamigay ko na lang sana sa mga nangailangan na nung nakita ko. Nanghinayang ako. Kasi syempre consumable pa naman yun. Pero attempting, do not. Lalo pag halimbawa contaminated. Kasi ito hindi natin alam kung saan yung source ng mga bacterial infection na ito. Okay? Now, at the same time, this is actually the infection. Next, diphtheria. Kapag ikaw ay nagtitake ng mataas na dosage ng antibiotic, mag-ingat ka. Kasi yung mga normal flora mo sa large intestine ay pag namatay yan, ito nakakatakot. You can lead to antibiotic-associated diarrhea. And there's a possibility that it will be accumulated by Clostridium difficile in the large intestine that can lead to, masarap kumain ng longganisa, mamaya, colitis. Namamaga ang large intestine or called to be pseudomembranous colitis. That is the infection of Clostridium difficile. Your Clostridium difficile actually contains or produces toxin. The toxin A and B. The A is enterotoxin, the B is cytotoxin. At pareho ito ang dahilan kung bakit namamaga ang intestine ng patient. Present normally in colon, but they can be related to antibiotic-associated diarrhea. Okay? Ito nakakatakot. And cytotoxicity assay is a single most effective test to identify this particular bacteria. Clostridium difficile. Next, how do we identify our anaerobic bacteria? Halimbawa sabihin natin, no? Sir, ano ba yung mga suspected na mga sample sa laboratory na iisipin natin anaerobic? Una, kapag ang sample ay aspirated. Because most sample that are aspirated can be suspected for anaerobic bacteria. Now, anong gagawin natin dun, sir? Halimbawa sabihin natin, meron tayong sample, tissue aspirate or aspirated sample ito. Ngayon, you will suspect na galing sa wound, sa sugat, of the following bacteria. Now, hatiin mo. Mag-culture ka sa aerobic at mag-culture ka sa anaerobic. Pag aerobic, gumamit ka ng McConkey, chocolate agar, or blood agar plate. You might able to isolate E. coli or Staph aureus. Pagsugat yon. Halimbawa lang. Pero, halimbawa sabihin natin, walang aerobic. You will suspect for anaerobic. Ano gagamitin natin? We can use the following. Blood agar, or CNA, or BBE, Bacteroides bile estuarine, or KVLB, kanamycin, vancomycin, lake blood agar. Mamaya na yung meaning, sige. Kanamycin, vancomycin, lake, yung lake niya, lake blood agar. Kanamycin is an antibiotic, vancomycin is an antibiotic, lake blood agar. Guys, please listen. BBE and KVLB are both for isolation of anaerobic bacteria. They are both media selective for isolation of anaerobic. Now, pag halimbawa may tumubo, you will suspect for Bacteroides or Streptococcus or Prevotella. Yan ang suspected natin na salarin kung bakit may infection yung patient. Okay, pero, sa bagay matagal pa naman kayo mag-intern kasi babagsak ulit kayo ng bakte. At sinabi niya sa section A kanina, di ba sila nag-aaral? Mag-aaral kasi kayo. O sabihin natin, papasa kayo, sige. In God's grace, sige. No? Sabihin natin, sir, Christmas gift po naman na. Malapit ang, siguro, unahin na muna natin yung, November. Yung November muna. No? Yung November 1. Siguro maglungkot-lungkutan muna kayo kasi sa November 1 pa naman, after November 3 ang midterm exam. Diba? November 3 ba ang midterm exam nyo? O, November 3 ang midterm exam. Hindi ko pa alam yung coverage. Minamadali ko kanina hindi kaya nung hanggang sa Enterobacterial shape. Kasi nung ina-assess ko, ang midterm, gram-positive cocci, gram-negative cocci, gram-positive bacilli, Mycobacterium, Enterobacteriaceae. Ang Enterobacteriaceae talaga ang pinakamadami
Kasama pa yun, ma.
sa midterm. Ang finals, non-fermentative, Pasteurinaceae, Vibrionaceae, Haemophilus, Spirochete, acellular, other medically important, and updates. So, pag halimbawa natapos natin Enterobacteriaceae, isama na natin yung non-fermentative sa midterm. Ah? Kaya ba?
Sana may buhay pa ako niya.
Okay, don't worry. Sige, kahit sabihin natin na Mycobacterium or Enterobacteriaceae midterm, cover to cover pa din naman ang finals. Alam mo kanina, bago pumunta ng Arellano, may kinausap ako estudyante. Sabi niya sa akin, bago pumunta ng WCC, gusto ko kasi magandang mood ko lagi dito pag pupunta ako kasi para hindi na ako ma-high blood. Sir, ano yun na? Kumusta ka? Anong plano mo? Papasa pa po ba ako? Ikaw, i-assess mo. Ano ba yung grade nung kinompute mo? Ano bang kailangan mong i-grade sa finals? 106, sir. Sabi na ako natawa. So, yun ang kailangan mo. Hanggang 100 lang. Sabi ko, sir, paano yun? May chance pa ba? Papasok pa ba ako? Meron, sige. Let's make a deal. O, meron tayong dito, witness. Perfectin mo yung exam ko. Pag na-perfect mo yung exam ko, iano ko lahat ng prelims to semifinals, papasa kita. Sa bacteriology. No mistakes. Walang daya. Perfect. That means that you will pass the board exam. Sabi ko sa kanya, sir, parang hindi ko yata kaya. I will prepare 130 to 40 items. Yun na lang i-perfectin mo. Yung 50 items sa summative, huwag mo nang perfectin yan. Yung 140 items from prelim to finals.
Pahinga na lang muna siya.
Paano kasi ang grade nila nung prelims parang sa inyo? 62.
Uy, hindi ako yun. Grabe naman.
Midterms, 65. O, i-compute mo. 225. Okay, 62 plus 65 minus 225. Yun ang grade na kailangan mo kapag gusto mong pumasa sa finals. Example na natin, sige, 65. 65, 65. Ang kailangan mong grade sa finals, 95. Tama? Plus 20. 75 plus 20. Sir, kaya pa ba yun? Go! Perfectin mo yung exam ko. Yan ang sasabihin ko sa inyo. Pag na-perfect mo yung exam ko, go! I will pass you. Culture natin using anaerobic chambers. Like, halimbawa sabihin natin, yung anaerobic natin, the gas back jar, which contains walang oxygen, but majority of the gases are nitrogen. It contains carbon dioxide na 5 to 10% and hydrogen gas na 5 to 10% din. Catalyst and at the same time methylene blue is the indicator. Palladium coated aluminum pellets will able to remove excess oxygen. That's the purpose of the catalyst. Yung ating palladium pellets na yan, no? Yung coated aluminum pellets. Then desiccant, it will remove excess water and oxygen. Ang indicator natin, that is actually colorless when no oxygen present. Methylene blue kasi madalas na ginagamit. Kaya kapag may oxygen, it turns into blue. No? Depende sa indicator na ginamit natin. So these are the chambers that we use. Ito yung glove box kapag anaerobic tayo. And this is actually the gas pack jar. Ito yung ginagamit natin for the culture ng ating anaerobic bacteria. Now, what are other ways to identify? Now, halimbawa sabihin natin, we suspect for anaerobic. So, nag-gram stain ka, positive. anaerobic tayo. Pag bacilli, spore former, Clostridium. Pag non-spore former, Actinomyces, Bifidobacterium, Eubacterium, Lacto. Ibang Lactobacillus, hindi lahat. No? Kasi may Lactobacillus na aerobic and Propionibacterium. Ngayon, pag cocci, ito na yung Pepto and Peptostreptococcus. Pag gram-negative cocci, Veillonella. And sometimes they resemble Coccobacilli. Pag bacilli, ito na. Gram-negative Bacteroides, Fusobacterium, Porphyromonas, and Plavotilla. Ito yung apat na common na gram-negative anaerobic. Isama nyo si Biophila. No? Yan. Now, how do we identify that they are obligate anaerobe? Napakasimple. Kapag nag-culture ka, no, sa blood agar plate na anaerobically at nagkaroon ng growth, that's considered to be obligate anaerobe. Ibig sabihin nito, obligado na kailangan walang oxygen para mabuhay ang bakterya. Another way to identify fluorescence light, i-expose mo yung colony sa ultraviolet light. Pag in-expose mo ang ating Porphyromonas and Plavotilla, brick red fluorescence. I-memorize yan, meron yun sa quiz. Pag ang Fusobacterium nucleatum and Clostridium difficile, chartreuse green. Pag Veillonella, red fluorescence. Paki-memorize. Ito yung tsura ng ating fluorescence. No? Letter A, that is actually brick red for Porphyromonas as a cololytica. And B, that is chartreuse green for Fusobacterium nucleatum. Fusobacterium fusiform bacteria. Ito, paki-memorize yan. Prevotilla, brick red. Prevotilla vibria and descends, light to orange to pink. Pero parang wala yan sa quiz ko. Porphyromonas, brick red. Ito, Fusobacterium, chartreuse green. Like Fusobacterium nucleatum. Veillonella, red, but fades rapidly. Clostridium ramosum, red. Ito, Clostridium difficile. Parang meron sa quiz ko yan. Chartreuse. And Egertelia, that is red, or sometimes walang fluorescence. So, that's actually one way on how we can able to identify anaerobic. Pag may fluorescence, no? Under long wave ultraviolet light. Another way to identify, Egg agar, lecitinase for Clostridium perfringens. Pag lecitinase positive, ability ng enzyme lecitinase produced by Clostridium perfringens to cleave lecithin found in egg yolk. Ang nangyayari, opaque zone, Nagler reaction ang tawag dyan. Next, lipase test. Ability ng bacteria to hydrolyze lipase and therefore iridescent multicolored sheen ang naproproduce like Fusobacterium necroporum. That's an example of lipase positive. Fusobacterium necroporum. Okay? Next. Now, ito na. Alam, ba't may ganyan? Tinanggal ko na yung kanina. Paki-memorized. Clostridium difficile, barnyard odor, chartreuse fluorescence. Under morphology gram stain, tin rats. Perfringens, double zone of beta hemolysis, boxcar. Septicum, swarming tin rats. Sordalii, lobate, irregular, flat, tin rats. Tetany, swarming, pero sa blood agar, they are considered to be smoothly swarming. Pag nakita mo sa microscope ang under gram stain, swollen, terminal spores. Peptostreptococci, peaked. Cocci in pairs. And last, Propionibacterium acnes, enamel white. Catarrhs positive. On blood agar, coriniform rats ang morphology. Pag coriniform, parang more pleomorphic yan, nag-bacilli or rad shape. Okay? And sa spot indole test, ang positive lang, eto. Sordalii, tetany, and Propionibacterium acnes. Another that you need to memorize, eto. Meron tayong bacteria na anaerobic na tumutubo sa KVLB or the kanamycin vancomycin linked blood agar and Bacteroides bile esculin agar. So dito yung bacteria, ito yung morphology sa ating KVLB, morphology sa BBE, at morphology sa gram stain. Nakuha. Okay, halimbawa, Bacteroides fragilis, large colony sa KVLB, pero non-hemolytic yan. Pero makikita mo sa BBE, black-gray. Why? Kasi this Bacteroides has the capability to hydrolyze bile. Yan, kaya black-gray ang color. Bacteroides cerealyticus, translucent pitting. Pero hindi sila nag-grow sa BBE. Bilophila wadsworthia. They have the ounce eye appearance, black colony. Ayan. Fish eye or ounce eye appearance colony ng Bilophila wadsworthia sa BBE agar. Ang dami ano. Kaya minumula na ako. Fusobacterio, gram glass or breadcrumbs. Pero walang growth sa BBE. Pero sa KVLB, breadcrumbs ang Fusobacterium. Pag nakita mo sa microscope, fusiform. Kaya tinawag siyang Fusobacterium. Kaya, mga 50 slides pa tayo for tonight. Porphyromonas, translucent fluorescence sa KBLB. No? No growth sa BBE. Prevotella, intermedia, and velonella, walang growth sa BBE, but they are translucent. Tiny cocobacilli ang itsura. Yan ang ating anaerobic suspected kapag pinatubo natin sa KVLB at BBE. Okay? Next, let's have colonies ng ating dito. Dito, ang ating KVLB, color red, kasi nga blood agar din naman siya, nilagyan ng kanamycin and vancomycin. Nakuha? Dito, ito yung ating Bacteroides fragilis dito sa KVLB. Bacteroides fragilis naman dito sa BBE. Dito sa BBE, makikita natin na color, brown color, because they can hydrolyze esculin. And once you hydrolyze, the bacteria hydrolyze esculin, it produce a black color. Okay? Next, aerobic. Ano na tayo? 1/4? Kasi 50 slides pa lang, 159 yan. O pwede mo na kayong umihi. Kasi meron pa tayong isang oras. Bacillus. Nag-isa lang siya. Pag halimbawa, beta-hemolytic, that is Bacillus, no? Ibang Bacillus. Why? Bacillus and classes are non-hemolytic. They are gamma-hemolytic. Next, punta tayo sa non-spore former. Pag non-spore former, yung common na babanggitin ko, Corynebacterium, Archaeobacterium, Erythropollatrix, Gardnerella, Lacto, and Listeria. Pag ito ay branching, ito yung ating mga fungal-like bacteria. Nocardia, Chucamurella, Gordonia, Rhodococcus, and Streptomyces. Pero pag non-branching or negative, Corynebacterium, Erythropollatrix, Lacto, Gardnerella, and Listeria. Itas natin ito sa catalase. Pag catalase positive, Corynebacterium and Listeria. Pag catalase negative, Arcano, Erythropollatrix, Gardnerella, Lacto. The only H2S, wala na akong boses, the only H2S positive na gram-positive bacilli is Erythropollatrix lucio patier. Okay? That is actually your gram-positive aerobic. Let's start with Bacillus. Bacillus, katulad ng ating Clostridium, isa ito sa mga virulent na bacteria pagdating sa aerobic na spore former. Now, they are active, of course, saprophytic and isolated as contaminant. One of the major laboratory contaminant is called the Hayes bacillus, o tinatawag nating Bacillus subtilis. That is what you call now the Hayes bacillus. At the same time, they are gram-positive large rats, no, with empty spaces. Sometimes, pag nakita sa microscope, they appear as yung tinatawag natin boxcar-shaped appearance. Parang ganito, yung itsura ng ating bacillus. And most of their spores are centrally located. Yan ang ating bacillus. Okay? Now, they are actually grouped into the following. The cell wall contains mesodiaminopimelic acid, and they are most common organism in blood transfusion contaminant. Yan ang ating bacillus and bacillus capusana. Now, for the classification ng ating bacteria according to the shape ng ating spores. Pag group 1, ellipsoidal ang kanilang spores. Like for example, Anthracis, Cirrus, or Megatherium. Pag subgroup 2, mas maliit yung spores. Subtilis, Coagulans, or Licheniformis. Another, pag group 2, oval shape. Parang ganito lang siya, pag ganyan. That is actually Styrothermophilus for autoclave, Polymixa, and Circulans. Pag group 3, pabilog yung kanilang spores, like Pasteuria and Spericus. Take note that your bacillus does not grow in CCNA agar. Okay? Let's start with the identification. Generally, ang bacillus are catalase positive, Box-Proskauer positive. They grow in aerobic jar and 7% NaCl, even in high temperature. Nitrate reduction, hydrolysis of starch, and casein positive. They can decompose or hydrolyze the protein casein. Isa yan sa mga different biochemical tests ng ating bacillus. And that's actually one of the important characteristics ng lahat ng bacillus. Now, pag titignan natin sa Grammy stain, most of which appear centrally located spores with boxcar-shaped appearance. Let's start with Bacillus anthracis. They are called to be non-motile. Common term as medusa head, bamboo fishing rod. Yan ang tawag kay Bacillus anthracis. Pagsakit, black bear, Silberian fever, anthrax. Yan ang common name ng kanyang sakit. Now, actually, in the blood agar plate and plant media, they appear as medusa head colonist or cut glass appearance ang itsura. Plus, kapag nakita mo ito sa ating gram stain, they are disjointed bamboo appearance or bamboo fishing rod. Parang ganito siya, yung bamboo fishing rod appearance. And this is the medusa head or the cut glass appearance in that agar plate. Remember, Bacillus anthracis are non-hemolytic. And, of course, they have glutamic acid capsule, polysaccharide somatic antigen, and ang toxin niya, ito nakakatakot. It produces protective antigen, lethal factor, and edema factor. At ito yung dahilan kung bakit pwedeng mamatay ang pasyente kapag may infection with Bacillus anthracis. Now, there are different anthrax infection. Now, makikita natin dito that man is acquired infection, zoonotic kasi itong Bacillus anthracis. Identified by Robert Koch in the livestock, particularly sa mga baka. Kaya nga pag halimbawa, yung mga nag-aalaga ng baka, kadalasan pwede maging sakit nila ito. Morphology, they are gram-positive bacilli, spore-forming, and at the same time, they are non-hemolytic in that agar media. Okay? Now, virulence factor. Meron silang tinatawag na capsule plus potent exotoxin. Ito yung dahilan kung bakit pwedeng mamatay ang patient within 24 to 48 hours kapag ginamit tong bioterrorism because of the edema and our lethal factor. Now, this particular toxin can able to kill a patient, no? Once nagkaroon ng inhalation of bacteria dito sa patient, particularly in the respiratory attack. Now, vaccination is available for those who are highly sweet exposure. Tingnan natin ang sakit sa anthrax na sinasabi natin. There are 3 forms of anthrax. Cutaneous sa sugat. Ang tawag natin sa cutaneous, we call that eschar. Nakukuha yan kapag halimbawa yung spore ng bacteria napunta sa sugat or nasugatan ka. Okay? That is cutaneous. Pag sinabi mo namang pulmonary, the term is Wool-Soster's disease. This is actually acquired kapag nalanghap mo ang bacteria. Kapag nalanghap mo ang bacteria, there's a possibility that you will able to develop Wool-Soster's. Ano yung ibig sabihin ng Wool-Soster's disease na yan? Ito yung pamamaraan na ginagamit nila sa bioterrorism na kapag nalanghap mo yung powder, pwedeng mag-develop yung bacteria sa lungs mo into like a wool. Alam mo yung balahibo ng tupa? That's actually like that. Kaya pwedeng mamatay ang patient within 24 to 48 hours because it actually destroy the respiratory system, particularly the pulmonary area or the lungs, leading to this kind of scenario. Kaya tinawag siyang Wool-Soster, leading to difficulty of breathing and death. Yan ang pwedeng mangyari sa pulmonary anthrax. And the last, kapag nakain mo naman, ang tawag dyan, violent enteritis. Mataas din ang mortality nito. Once you ingest the spore, it can lead to intestinal anthrax. And at the same time, pag intestinal anthrax, ganito siya. Acquired by ingestion of contaminated raw meat. And at the same time, there is abdominal pain and worst scenario, bloody diarrhea. That's what we call now, violent enteritis. Kapag halimbawa cutaneous, ganito lang siya, skin. Tapos kapag pulmonary, Wool-Soster's disease. And nakukuha yan kapag na-inhale mo yung spores. And that happened 2 to 5 days after exposure. Ito yung ginamit nila for bioterrorism attack, na kung saan there is a sudden respiratory distress, disorientation, coma, and death. May last less than 24 hours from onset to death. Kaya maraming namatay nung ginamit nila to during bioterrorism attack 90s. Hindi ko lang alam kung pinanganak na kayo noon. Hindi pa. Okay? Now, after that, suspected anthrax. Sino daw yung mga pwedeng suspected? Halimbawa, kayo yung nag-work sa laboratory. Una, pag gumamit ka na ng level 3. Pangalawa, non-hemolytic, may growth sa blood agar plate. Pero marami tayong stop and strep na non-hemolytic. Pangatlo, gram-positive bacilli na non-hemolytic. Pang-apat, non-motil, lecitinase positive, and string of pearl test positive. How do we identify Bacillus anthracis? Gram stain, boxcar appearance, gram-positive bacilli. Stain smear, Macphage's method. You can able to see the spore. Now, culture using PLET, that is selective media, for our Bacillus anthracis. Animal inoculation, patay ang animal, particularly the rat. And string of pearl test, that is more than 5 mm ang haba. Hindi ko pa na nabanggit sa section A kanina kasi nagagalit ako. More than 5 mm ang haba. Then, Ascoli test, that is a precipitation test for differentiating Bacillus anthracis from mycoides. Kasi ang anthracis, soybean lectin agglutination, walang agglutination sa helix formation. Pero mycoides, parehong may agglutination. Or sorry, precipitation. That's actually for Ascoli test. Next, how do we identify the microscopic morphology ng ating Bacillus anthracis? Pag nasilip sa microscope, large square ended gram-positive rods or boxcar appearance. Sometimes they appear bamboo-shaped appearance. Colony, non-hemolytic, at the same time, medusa head or beaten egg or ano sinabi ko kanina? Cut glass appearance. Bamboo fishing rod sa gram stain. Cut glass, medusa head, or beaten egg white sa may blood agar plate, and non-hemolytic. Next, anong oras na? 7:15. Now, ito importante to. How can we differentiate Bacillus anthracis from Serous? Bacillus cereus is a fried rice bacilli. Ibig sabihin nito, they are actually heat-stable bacteria. Kaya pag nagpainit ka ng rice in an emetic form, ito ang poisoning. Food poisoning kasi ito. To differentiate anthracis from Serous, blood agar, beta-hemolytic ang Serous. Motil ang Serous. Susceptible sa penicillin ng anthracis, resistant ang Serous. Another, lecithinase positive pareho. Yung first three ang importante. Ito. Okay? Next, treatment, penicillin. Ciprofloxacin kapag resistant sa penicillin. Next, Bacillus cereus. Last night to, kasi hindi ko ito na-discuss sa section A kasi nagalit ako kanina. Tinapon ko lahat ng papel nila. Okay? Bacillus cereus is commonly termed as fried rice bacillus. Kaya tinawag siyang fried rice kasi this bacteria is actually identified as heat-stable enterotoxin. Ibig sabihin ito, kahit ipainit mo yung pagkain at nagkaroon ng heat-stable enterotoxin, there's a possibility na pwede kang magkaroon ng food poisoning. There are two types of enterotoxin, the heat labile and heat stable. Another virulence factor, the cerelizin C, cerelizin kakusana, and phospholipase C. Cerelizin and phospholipase are actually important for attachment ng bacteria in the mucosal ng gastrointestinal tract, which can cause gastroenteritis and ophthalmitis and opportunistic infection. How do we identify this bacteria? We use to culture this bacteria in polymyxin pyruvate egg yolk mannitol bronchymol blue or the PMBA media na kung saan it will produce blue color wrapped dry colonies. Fried rice bacillus as in na pritong bigas.
Nagulat ako.
Okay? Now, how can we differentiate? Infection is actually more on opportunistic kasi it affects immunocompromised. Kapag immunocompromised or immunosuppressed, it can lead to what you call now infection in different parts of the body. Like in the eye, in the nervous system, in the blood, osteomyelitis, and found as contaminants in some drug paraphernalias. Yan. And, ito siya. That is beta-hemolytic in blood agar plate. There are gram-positive bacilli in gram stain. Plus, ito na. There are two forms ng food poisoning. The emetic and the diarrheal. Ito nakakatakot. Why? Kasi ang emetic, it is due to heat-stable enterotoxin. Kaya pag halimbawa, nagpainit ka ng fried, ng rice, no? At yan, madalas pwede magkaroon ng ganyan, that is Bacillus cereus. That is actually identified in the rice, kaya tinawag siyang fried rice bacillus. Less than 6 hours incubation, mabilis. Ang pinagkaiba dito guys, tandaan nyo, pag may food poisoning, laging may vomiting at abdominal cramps. Maliban sa nausea, pag naramdaman mo yan, ibig sabihin food poison na. Then, of course, 8 to 10 hours ang duration. This is due to heat-stable enterotoxin. Pag emetic yon, pag diarrheal, medyo okay pa. Hindi pa ganun siya kadelikado. More than 6 hours incubation, common sa mga meat and vegetables. Diarrhea, nausea, and abdominal cramps, heat labile enterotoxin. That's the difference between emetic and diarrheal form ng ating food poisoning caused by fried rice bacillus or Bacillus cereus. Now, tingnan natin. Ito na yung dalawa, the emetic and diarrheal form. How can we differentiate Bacillus anthracis and cereus? Naulit lang. Motil ang cereus, beta-hemolytic, non-encapsulated, salicin fermenters, and since they have heat stable, they can grow at 45 degrees Celsius. And take note, penicillin resistant. Next, other bacillus. Bacillus subtilis. Hayes bacillus, the most common laboratory contaminant, non-pathogenic. Hanggang dyan na lang tayo. That they are soil-borne. Thuringiensis, insect repellent. Diba? Sinabi ko to nung prelims. Yan. Hanggang dyan na lang tayo. Next topic on Wednesday, wala pang, pwede tayo mag-quiz hanggang dyan.
Sige, ma'am.
Hanggang Bacillus thuringiensis. 15 items. Dictation. Any questions? Okay.
Ang totoo, queen.
Announcement and instruction on Wednesday,